That is correct. Ladies and gentlemen, you see the countdown. You know what time it is. It is time for the greatest Denver Broncos show in existence and perhaps of
Jeez,
all time.
you're going for a lot of hyperbole here, there, Cease. Come on, man. Hey,
Uh,
let's.
we'll
You know
do in a
what?
pinch, Mace. We'll do in a pinch.
Well, here's the thing. Just as I say for the Broncos of this year, let's keep the expectations reasonable.
Okay.
Let's keep the expectations reasonable on this show.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. We are
Better
back.
to. I believe very strongly in the promise of, in the not the promise. I believe very strongly in the premise of under promise, over deliver.
Over deliver.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're delivering for you on Orange and Blue today. We are presented by Sean Ponda, Cecil Lammey, Andrew Mason. And you saw the thumbnail, the beautiful, gorgeous thumbnail from Andrew Mason. The rookies have the juice, Mace. We can't get into specifics, but I just want everyone to know that now that we're seeing the Broncos offense, not them in training camp, what you saw in training camp was different. We're seeing the actual iterations of what the Broncos will be this season. It seems like those rookies, as I go Borat on you, very nice. Like they got some juice, Mace.
Yeah, they do. Specifically, two of them, Jaleel McLaughlin and Marvin Mims Jr. But look, if you were out at training camp, you saw it. You saw the explosiveness from Jaleel McLaughlin. You saw the moves from him. You saw the speed from Marvin Mims Jr. So I don't think we are revealing any secrets because we're not going to dive into the tactics or anything like that.
Right.
But this is, what we're looking at. And look, Sean Payton is not shy about playing rookies beyond maybe their expectation or their slot if they show they can do it. So, and I'd say McLaughlin in particular, the way he moved up and the moves that he showed, there's going to be a role for him. It's funny because I was speculating with somebody else today up on top of the hillside. Like, okay, how much do you think the running back workload is going to be dispersed? I think we may be looking at scenarios, Cease, where Jaleel McLaughlin is playing 20% or more of the carries this year.
Yes.
Or not carries. He's playing 20 or more percent of the snaps this year. You're still Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams getting the most, and maybe they're splitting what's left of it 50-50 between them. But I think there's going to be a significant role for Jaleel McLaughlin in this offense.
I don't want to get carried away over 2 days of practice, Mace, but I could guess, or it's my belief, that you could have Javonte Samaje and then Jaleel just has his own package. Mm-hmm. And if one of those other two gets banged up, could we see a Jaleel McLaughlin in the backfield with the other guy, kind of supplementing him? I think the answer could be yes.
Ooh, are we talking about Jaleel McLaughlin as the number one running back and Javonte Williams, for example, the number two?
Javonte would have to get banged up, and then Samaje would be the number two because Samaje's kind of the same guy, right? It's Jaleel could step to the forefront though, and think about how much different that is just from a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, a month ago, when Jaleel McLaughlin's name came up, I believe I was the first to ask Sean Payton about him during the training camp process, and it was okay, because I asked him right after the pads went on, and obviously you want to see what he looks like, how he moves when things get toward full speed. And he just kept showing more and more and more. And remember, this is a coach who, back in his first season on the job in 2006, was not shy about giving a 7th-round pick from Hofstra University, Marcus Colston, many more opportunities than you would have expected just because Colston showed he was worthy of it. And lo and behold, Colston ended up becoming the Saints' all-time leader in multiple receiving categories over his career. So I'm not saying McLaughlin is headed toward that kind of territory, but yeah, if you are following the Broncos this year, or even if you're just following from afar, Jaleel McLaughlin is going to be a name that barring injury. I mean, there may be a moment in prime time this year when the Broncos are on Thursday Night Football or Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football where Jaleel McLaughlin becomes a household name. Wouldn't surprise me.
All it takes is a play or two for that young man as a runner, receiver, and, he'll work some special teams as well. And that's where Marvin Mims comes into the conversation, Mace, because we saw Mims doing his thing on offense. He can be a chain mover. We'll get to Philip Dorsett in just a second, but Mims can be that. And then, did you see anyone else take a punt return? Like, it's all Marvin Mims' show in the punt return game.
Well, good, because he needs the reps. I mean, Montrell Washington, no longer there, right? We're not talking about that anymore, unless you wait, were you going to drop a name in one last time?
No, and I said it last night on Denver Sports Tonight. I said, people are losing their jobs. No one needs to hear from a slappy like me to be like, it should have been Isaiah Pacheco. We already know that. I hope Montrell lands on his feet no matter where it is.
I mean, there was a report earlier today that had Montrell going to the Chiefs. I don't know how valid that is on their practice squad.
I wouldn't like that. You never want that revenge factor, right? Like, a guy comes back and haunts you. Like, I get it somewhere else other than Kansas City. Anywhere else, baby, just not KC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be interesting if we looked at Montrell Washington and Albert Okwuegbunam on the Chiefs and Eagles, albeit Chiefs practice squad. Hey, the Chiefs practice squad gave Melvin Gordon a Super Bowl ring.
He got a ring.
Yeah. Hey, if they give rings, we're going to use the term slappy for the second time. If they give Super Bowl rings to slappies like myself, then if you're on a practice squad, you ought to get a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, it's a dream, Mace. What you have in your possession is a dream for all of us. Like, a very special time and something you'll never forget.
As my daughter calls it, my precious, my precious.
One ring to rule them all, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Who knew? There's only one return.
What was the other part of that? I'm blanking because I'm not really a Tolkien nerd. One ring to rule them all. One ring to, what was the other part of it?
I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah. I'm more of a Star Wars nerd. So
was it? It wasn't in Clerks, was it? It wasn't. Maybe Clerks 2. I don't know if you saw that, where he's like, "There's only one return. It's of the
King. Yeah, it's of the Jedi. Yes,
that's right. That's what we feel about with this team. So we're watching Marvin Mims out there make plays. We're watching Jaleel McLaughlin out there make plays, and we're seeing this offense look a little more lively. Mace, again, it's just practice. We can't reveal too much, but do you feel a little more confident about this offense based on now that we're seeing the actual scheme? Everybody, it's got me excited. How about you?
I gotta see it for real before I'm buying in just yet. Look, I'm excited about the possibilities of some of these young guys, but look, you've got some depth issues right now. You're going to have an offensive line that is coming together, finding cohesion, hopefully improving over the course of the year. I mean, I think there are some things by which you can be intrigued, but I also do think there's going to be some stalls along the way. This is not going to be a straight incline where you're going up, 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 up constantly, right? There are going to be moments where you have to pause. There are going to be moments where you get knocked back down the mountain a little bit, right? So,
right.
Yeah, I'm advising caution here. I don't want to get people too excited. I mean, I'm not one who's going to say dynasty.
I'm excitable, and I will say dynasty for the Walton Penner Group. I don't know if that includes Russell Wilson, but here's the thing, Mace, and we can talk about this to a certain level. I saw the rookies making plays, lots of them, and I also saw the rookies making mistakes, including Nate Adkins. We can't talk about the play, but you know the play with Nate Adkins. So the rookies are making plays, but the rookies are also making mistakes. And if this team is going to lean on the rookies as much as they will, doesn't that mean maybe a slower start as these kids kind of learn the ropes?
Maybe. Look, it's funny because I was having this conversation about your favorite thing in the world, baseball, today. Down at 20th and Blake, you got a lot of young guys in the lineup. And there's some potential. You see some spark from some of those players like Nolan Jones, like Hunter Goodman. You also see moments where things aren't quite there. There was one time last night, the ball just dropped in between three Rockies. And you could see like the communication. They were trying, okay, who's got it, right?
Who's on first?
Right. And I was chatting with a friend today, and I said, look, that's just what you see when you're putting young players out there and finding out whether they can sink, whether they'll sink, or whether they can swim. You're going to, the old cliche, you're going to have to break some eggs to make some omelets, right? That's what's going to happen here. When you rely on young players, you have to live with the mistakes as they grow. That's okay. But you got to step back and be patient. Unfortunately, the NFL doesn't really have room for the same type of patience that you see in baseball, for example.
Right.
And I would argue, a guy who the Broncos could have been more patient with, but weren't, and end up having some productive moments elsewhere, was Isaiah McKenzie. Sean Payton said today, he was talking about Rob Ninkovich. They drafted him in New Orleans. They let him go.
And then they brought him back and let him go again.
Yeah. And he went on to be a star in New England. Sometimes your evaluation is wrong. He pointed to the vision maybe not being right, but sometimes we all do get a little bit too impatient with young players, and you just have to step back a little bit. Just step back and watch.
Right. Step back, watch, and wait. And I agree with Jason, our pot stoner degenerate here.
Casual Friday.
I like the Miami Vice look, baby. Like, you should go with the plain tee, because everyone does the kitschy tee with some sort of saying on it, and then the blazer. Like, I like the plain tee.
I've done this a couple of times, actually. You just didn't notice.
I'm looking at you now, Mace.
I appreciate that. Well, that's because when I'm in the studio, and we're doing this separately because we're trying something today. When we're in the studio, you're not, you're off to the side. Now you're looking directly at me. So,
right. I'm looking into your eyes.
Oh boy. Yeah. I actually thought about it being an orange, like a faded orange shirt. Now that would have really been Miami Vice. If I had gone with like kind of the faded, or it's kind of a peachy type of shirt. I've got one for this kind of situation, but it would have looked very kind of orange and blue. Well, we're orange and blue today. Maybe I'll wear that. Maybe I'll wear that next week. Last one before the season opener. I'll bust that out. Getting a little team spirit, right? Why not?
We got it for you on Orange and Blue today. We are presented by Sean Ponda. Any problems with what Mike McGlinchey didn't say about the offensive line's identity? When asked, hey, what's your guy's identity? He's like, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was interesting, Mace. I'm not offended by it, but I would have kind of liked a different answer. How about you?
I go back to the point I'm making about how this development is going to happen over time for the young players. And I think this process of finding an identity for the team is going to happen over time. I'm perfectly fine with it. The problem is everybody wants answers today. No one wants to wait. No one wants to let the process play out. This process is going to play out all through this season in terms of where this team is going, how it's developing. It's probably going to happen through next year as well. Everybody probably just needs to take a step back and let things unfurl, let them unfold. That's hard because humans are wired toward impatience. Football fans are especially wired toward impatience. People in the NFL are probably in line with those football fans for the most part, want it now. There's a reason why Jerry Glanville said the NFL stood for not for long. But I would say just step back and let this thing play itself out. I get that after 6 consecutive losing seasons, it's hard to be patient, but I think that is absolutely essential in this process. If you're going to, I think, view this season in the right way as something that is the part of a long-term process. Doesn't mean you can't have short-term success. You go back to New Orleans in Sean Payton's first year in 2006. They are laying a lot of groundwork that year, but things happened to break just right, and they went 10-6 and went to the NFC Championship game. A year later, they were 7-9. The year after that, they were 8-8. Those finishes were probably much more in line with where they were in terms of their overall process. So just because I'm sitting here talking about long-term process and viewing things over the horizon and letting this team evolve. It doesn't mean you can't have success right now, but things probably do have to break a certain way, and there probably is a really narrow path toward talking about something like the playoffs this year.
Well, and one of the things that helped, my goodness, look at that draft. Sean Payton talked about it today.
Yes.
Reggie Bush, Roman Harper, Jari Evans. They didn't take anyone in the third. Because coach is like, I don't know who we took in the third. Nobody is the answer. Rob Ninkovich, Mike Haas, whatever, Josh Lay, whatever, Zach Strief, and Marcus Colston.
That's an all-time draft. The Saints had a couple of all-time drafts with Sean
2017 and
Payton.
2006, yeah.
Right. And now the interesting thing about the 2017 draft in terms of their process, they had the previous 3 years, they'd gone 7-9, 7-9, 7-9.
Yes.
So that draft was a lot of final pieces to what was the second peak of Sean Payton's time there, which was that 17-20 run. And even in 2021, they were 9-8 despite QB issues, largely because of what they had built. So so the draft kind of hit at a different point, but it was still absolutely essential to where the Saints were going long term. I think this probably feels a little bit more like 06 timing wise and development wise, but same kind of point there, I believe.
Well, I don't want to get too crunchy on you, Mace, but time is a loop and things do repeat
Time's
themselves.
a flat circle, I thought.
Now look at what we're saying. This is like what if, when you and I will do what ifs and it's just kind of like off the top and then we're just like, oh my God, we're discovering things as we go. I mean, look at the 06 draft. Don't you feel, we're talking about the rookies. We didn't even talk about Drew Sanders yet. Yeah. Like these rookies are making plays. These rookies are going to be significant for this team, just like 2006 Saints. And, you know, if this year's a 7-win season, 8-win season, I'm worried, what's next? What's next year? This is the foundation.
Don't forget Riley Moss. We haven't seen him out there yet, basically, because of the core muscle injury.
Right.
And realistically, with Riley Moss, we may be kind of pushing the expectations for him back until maybe even saying, all right, whatever you get this year out of Riley Moss is gravy, because he lost all those reps in training camp and the preseason. There may come a trial by fire moment for him this year, but it may be next year, but that's okay. Drew Sanders. Oh, by the way, again, we can't talk about what we saw today.
Don't say it.
Okay.
Vance Joseph already told us what they were going to do, and they're doing that. I don't know what, but Vance Joseph said they were going to show it, not in training camp, and we're seeing it. It's beautiful.
Keep your eye on
Snowball
Drew Sanders
from Clerks all the time. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Maybe I should go Snowball from Clerks now that I think about it, but it is Orange and Blue today.
Are you
Usually
37?
You're the one that does that.
But wait, no, Snowball doesn't count toward the 37. That's
no,
the other number is 71, right?
Exactly. In a row?
Or wait, am I getting it wrong?
No, yeah, 36 in a row. Anyway,
gosh,
we'll leave all that alone to talk about this team.
Don't do anything on the way through the parking lot.
Exactly. We're gonna go play hockey on the roof of the studio. That's something we could do.
Yeah.
We can do a lot of things, and on this show, and we appreciate everyone waiting. I see the chat room's like, you guys were late. We're fixing our audio issues. We don't have any echo today.
Yeah.
Feels good. So we did our thing, and we appreciate y'all's patience. And the show's absolutely taken off. And it's because, who was it that told their barber in Nashville? Did you see that earlier in the chat room?
I did see that, yes.
Yeah. I'm going to pull it back up because it's like, we're going nationwide, baby. Like
nationwide, hell with that. Worldwide.
Let's
think big. Let's think Broncos universe here.
Broncos country is everywhere.
It is.
That's
Look,
for sure.
we know it's in Nashville because of all the Bronco fans we saw down there in Nashville when they were a 3-6 team limping in to take on the Titans. Somehow that game came up today in the discussion. Oh yeah, it came up because I said if they had changed coaches after week 8, and Jerry Rossberg had been the coach for the last 9 games of the season, I said, oh, yeah, they would have won a few games down the stretch. They didn't win. And one of them I said was the Titans game.
So there you go. There you have it. Orange Blue today, we're presented by Sean Ponda. Mace, the Philip Dorsett thing. The Broncos add a veteran receiver, and I was talking to our friend Cody Rourke, and I was like, hey, they wanted some speed. And Cody brought up the fact, it's on Pro Football Reference, like, hey, 11 of his 20 catches went for first downs. He doesn't do much anymore. He never lived up to his first-round status. He's got to stay healthy. But again, clear vision for this veteran now on the practice squad.
Yeah, it's a vision for a specific role as well. That's the thing. He's not going to be an every down player unless you have more injuries that come into play. If Philip Dorsett is one of your 2 starting receivers, then unfortunately something else or multiple something else's went wrong injury-wise. So let's just kind of keep the expectation there. Can it be a nice rotational piece? Sure, absolutely. But make no mistake, when you get to week 1, assuming you don't see Jerry Jeudy with the hamstring injury, but you get to week 1, you're going to see a lot of Cortland Sutton. You're going to see a lot of Brandon Johnson. You're going to see a fair amount of Marvin Mims.
Yes. Speaking of Sutton, Mason, we have to be careful with what we say. I saw plenty of Brandon Johnson. I saw plenty of Marvin Mims today. I wanted to see a little more from Sutton. Hopefully, as we get ready for the regular season, that happens. So, we're about tempering expectations. I was like, that Jerry Jeudy role is not Sutton's role. I don't think it's a one-on-one like, oh, you lose Jeudy, just throw in Sutton. Sutton's playing something different.
Well, we were talking about it last year when Cortland Sutton went out and Jerry Jeudy assumed the role of the X receiver. All of a sudden, Jerry Jeudy started being more productive, right? So it's simply a better spot for him. But look, the Broncos have another practice this week. They have a bonus practice on Monday. They're going to have their usual practices next week. They've got some time to figure things out. I'm sure we'll see some wrinkles coming in the game that we haven't seen before. And I think they'll be okay. The professor's outfit, I do like that. It's a good way of putting it.
Well, don't we go to school every day when we learn from Professor Mace? There you go.
Yes.
There's our meme, right? We play our meme of our guy. Anyway.
Either that or a shared moment.
Always the shared moment. See, Mace,
this show
can turn around the day. I'll say this for our viewers, and I'll say this for you too, brother. When we have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, both in life and in our jobs, when we do the show, we do have the shared moment. We put you in a better mood. Hell, it puts me in a better mood because sometimes I'm not in a great mood.
I know. You can be a little scary sometimes when you're not in a great mood. We're so good. There have been some people who've seen me absolutely just lose it.
Yeah,
right?
Not like Eminem, lose it. Just lose it.
No, that was lose yourself.
He had to lose it. Just lose it. Now lose it. I can't remember the song. Anyway. Do you know what whole lot of Lutz means? You and I are pretty simpatico on a lot of things, but as I'm making the sidebar today, and Matthew made it, full disclosure, I told him, put lot of Lutz, because it reminds me of the old Paul Puma from Bugs Bunny. Give me a whole lot of lumps. That's just me.
I thought, when there a whole lot of love with was a song at one point, right? So
want a whole lot of love?
Yeah. There you go.
That's a lot of Lutz.
That's what I thought. A lot of Lutz. He actually
speaking of love,
today.
He talked about how Sean Payton, and this is why the Saints thing, and I know others on our station and on Denver Sports have taken issue with getting all these Saints. Here's why. Not only the guys you can trust, but guys will play. What did Will Lutz say to you, Mace? I didn't want to let him down.
Yeah. The pressure. Some players respond better to that sort of pressure than others. Will Lutz is one of those guys who, doesn't say didn't want to let Sean Payton down. Look, we've talked about the core muscle injury and a reason behind that. And I'll say this for Lutz. He said no excuses for last year having the worst season of his career, the year after he recovered from the core muscle injury. But you do wonder if maybe some of that was not having the glare of Sean Payton coming from the sidelines. Some people respond better to that kind of pressure. I'm not one of them, but some do.
Well, and the great thing about Sean Payton that we can say, Mace, is that he understands people are different, are motivated differently. I've always said people are like rubber bands. Some are wound so tight that if you yell at them, they're crumble. Some of them are wound so loose that you got to kick them in the ass every day just to get a half worth effort out of them. I think Sean Payton's key is that if you're his guy, he knows how to coach you.
Yeah.
And that's being different with people are different. Who knew that?
Shocking, huh? You can't do one size fits all management with people, because what works for one doesn't work for the other. I mean, what might be right for you may not be right for some. How many times do I use that? I probably get in a reference to the Different Strokes theme song about once a month, I'd say. But the words are wise, right? The world don't move to the beat of just one drum.
And I have to say, they did some heavy stuff on that show.
There were a lot of very
time
special,
growing up. There were some more advanced themes,
very special episodes. Remember,
that
that were a big thing back in the 80s, right?
Yes. A very extra special episode of Different Strokes.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Okay.
But yeah, Will Lutz is your Broncos kicker now. He actually did have a period today. Ultimately, I think he'll be fine. Also, I'm happy for Brett Maher landing with the Rams as well. Really, really quickly getting out there. So all was well that ends well, although we have discussed in our text chat the notion of having a kickometer on a weekly basis just to see how Brett Maher and Brandon McManus are doing, because it's an interesting move. The Broncos could have hung on to McManus and they would still have a 7th round pick. They chose not to. It's still going to be something that I think we keep an eye on over the course of the year, how these kickers do relative to each other.
All right. And I think that's a good thing to keep track of, Mace. I'll keep it brief because we don't have to get into this because McManus is gone, but it's a personality thing.
Yes.
And we saw it today. I can't be specific, but after a certain play that was successful, there were other players who were chirping about their success or it wouldn't have been successful or whatever. And Sean Payton, to a pretty prominent player, didn't yell at him. But he's like, hey, over here. This is what we're doing. This is why we did it that way. So we can't get into specifics, but it's in that moment, Mace, I was getting chills because it's Sean Payton running the show in a respectful way, going to a big name player and being like, hey, eyes over here. This is why we did it that way. The coaching, the teaching, the love and appreciation, it gives you a larger appreciation for Sean Payton himself.
Well, it doesn't stop. I mean, the only time practice stops really is when he's stopping it to make a point about situational football or how to compose yourself. For all that we can say about Sean Payton, one thing that I think is undeniable, he is an excellent teacher. And he's always looking for teachable moments.
So said the Professor Mace. I think that's the way we wrap up the show today, baby.
That's
How
a
about
good
you?
way to end here. Yeah. That sometimes you just got to go out on a high note, on a good moment. Like I think that was a Seinfeld episode. Like, thank you, you've been great. George was always looking to go out on a high.
Whenever I would practice basketball, my dad would always say, end on a good one. I bring him up because today is Sammy Lammey's birthday, and I know that he watches Orange and Blue today every day. So, Dad, much love, and thanks for that advice because it helps.
Oh, yeah. When I'd shoot baskets as a kid, I would always leave on the same made shot. I'd make a 3-pointer, right side, top of the key, and that was it. And I was done.
Mace, like Michael Adams out there.
Yeah, whatever. I aspire to be Michael Adams height-wise. I think I was more like Muggsy Bogues.
Did you ever do the Michael Adams? Because he had that when he shot a 3-pointer, he'd like double clutch it before he shot it. Did you ever try that?
No.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Awfully effective.
It was for sure. He is Andrew Mason. We all appreciate him dearly. At Mace Denver on all your socials. I'm at Cecil Lammey. OBT's BFD, and we appreciate you all. All the new viewers, wow. Wow. Thank you. So make sure to do the YouTube things, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And as always, stay tuned for Orange and Blue today. He's Mace. I'm Cease. Thanks, everybody. Stay frosty.